Abend und herzlich willkommen zum Filmtalk von Zürich für den Film. Wir sind ein Verein von und für Zürcher Filmschaffende und organisieren im Vorstand einmal pro Monat einen Filmtalk, immer hier in Zewix. Ich freue mich sehr, dass wir heute Abend das Tessiner Filmschaffen bei uns zu Besuch haben und gleich mit einer so schönen Runde. Das haben wir Jenny vom Xenix zu verdanken. Sie hat ausnahmsweise diesen Talk heute selber organisiert, weil er im Zusammenhang mit dem Monatsprogramm von Xenix steht. Deshalb übergebe ich ihr auch gleich das Wort, damit sie uns unsere Gäste vorstellen kann.
Vielen Dank. I will right away switch to English and say welcome, benvenuti, bienvenue. Yes, English, I guess, is a new lingua franca in Switzerland, so it's weird, but we do it, and we can still, we can all also speak our languages at some moments if we want to, or if the emotion asks this from us. So, but yeah, I will speak first in English. Thank you, Filmtalk, for the collaboration in this context of the Ticino Cinema, the program we curated here with a selection of films that are from Ticino or connected to Ticino, all films from the last 5 years. Thank you to Francesco Rizzi, who is sitting here, who wrote the introduction to the program that I curated. And thank you also especially to the Ticino Film Commission and to Ticino Wine for the collaboration as well, and for the apéro that will continue after this screening, after this discussion and before the screening of Semret that we will have afterwards with Caterina Mona, who is also here. So please feel free to drink with us. And welcome especially to our 4 guests. They are all active in Ticino Cinema today. And the reason is that there have been many Ticinese film. Is Ticinese the right adjective in English, right. I think? Well, the films from Ticino in the last few years that traveled to international festivals. For example, Love Me Tender by Claudia Reinicke. She's a filmmaker based in Lugano. This film has been shown in a lot of festivals after its premiere at Locarno. Or Atlas by Niccolo Castelli, who's filmmaker, but also much more. He's also director of Ticino Film Commission and the new artistic director of Solo Turno Filmtage. And but Atlas was also a film that was seen widely. And of course, Semret, that we will see tonight, was also produced by Cinedoche and Olga Lamantanara, and which is a production company also with Michela Pini and Amel Sudani. So of course the production companies behind the films are also very important for this spirit we are experiencing today. And of course, last but not least, all the films and the filmmakers need partners, need money, need co-production, need television. Alessandro Marcioni is responsible for fiction and doc at RSI, at the Ticinese Swiss television. So welcome all of you. Antonio Prata, who works for Noha Film Distribution, who is also important in Ticino at the moment, for especially also for young filmmakers, couldn't make it tonight for an emergency in his family. So he says hi, but couldn't join us. And we would love to hear thoughts from you tonight, and also please also from you who are also connected or not, thoughts about what's happening in Ticino at the moment, about examples, about Yes, what could be reasons for this Ticino wave or those films coming from the south? But please also just talk about yourself and about your work, and the audience will participate. So, after a long introduction, I would like to give you the word, and for me, I think to start with all of you would be that, first of all, that each of you tells us what you are working on right now, or what is, let's say, mostly on your mind, because I know that all of you work on several things. And the questions, if you do feel a fresh energy at the moment. Maybe Claudia, because you're next to me.
Should I take my own microphone?
Yes, you can take it.
Hello everyone. Thank you for being here to hear some of the Ticino tales. What I think it's important for me to say is that Ticino is a very rich place. It's probably the smallest in Switzerland, and I'm an adopted Ticino person because I grew up in Romandie. I have discovered two main things, which is solidarity among us, among the filmmakers, because we are a small group of filmmakers. We're not a huge group of filmmakers like maybe in Zurich or in Romandie, but that makes also us be very to speak about our projects, to make each other feel like we have open doors to each other, and that's very important in a region that needs that also to survive. In the arts of cinema, obviously. I have shot 2 films in Ticino, feature films, and the experience has been really amazing. My first film was a school, because I had no idea of what I was doing, pretty much. I come from the documentary filmmaking, and Ticino and Amka film, Tiziana Sudani, who's not here with us anymore, but offered me the possibility to actually shoot a film, even though I was not that experienced. And that's something I think that Ticino can offer to young filmmakers that I don't see very often in other regions, because there's more competition and maybe there's more, the thing is that shooting a film in Ticino remains still like shooting something with a family, and probably because we don't have as much money as other parts of Switzerland get to have, but also because we all know each other. And even though we need to pick people out of Ticino, another fun thing in Ticino is that we end up always talking about 5 languages in a set. Even though they're small sets, it's something that it's very peculiar for Ticino. I have shot right now a series in Romandie that's gonna come out this fall, and the series was a big machine, obviously, and in Romandie with a lot of Swiss and French also actors, and even though it was a great experience, I did miss my bubble in Ticino, because the freedom that we get in Ticino is very huge. Maybe because we don't get as much money, probably we have to learn a way of making things. So I don't know if there is like one kind of Ticino films. I don't think there is, because we're all different. Obviously, we come from different places, we have lived different experiences, but because of that thing of, a landscape that it's very, almost to me, contradictory to the rest of Switzerland, and a budget that it's lower, you actually have to learn on, how to make things a bit different. And I would define Ticino cinema like that. You just have to adapt and make things a bit different in order to get the same quality as a cinema that, we can be proud of, but you have to find other ways to make it.
Thank you.
Should I be the next?
Yeah, maybe we can start in the row, but then we start to make sections.
So first of all, thank you for inviting us again. And yes, the answer is yes, there is cinema in the Swiss Italian part of Switzerland, which is something a lot of people tend to forget, but luckily just in Switzerland. You asked if there is a wave of films coming from the far south of Switzerland, and I think, or a new wave of cinema that is made there. I think that there's always been a lot of really good movies coming from our region, and that's also why it's such fun to do my job actually. So to be there and trying to support these projects and finance them, but also let's say there's a lot of people like me in Ticino because I'm the one that gives away money. At the same time, they don't like me at all because they know that with money comes a lot of criticism and suggestions and discussions and fights sometimes. I think we always add a lot of really strong movies, and I think that what's happening right now is that people kind of noticed, and they started asking themselves, okay, but why does this small film in Ticino made by Claudia Raniche is being selected in Locarno? Yeah, it's normal, I mean, because she made it like 20 kilometers from there, and then it's in Toronto the next week, and then it's in San Sebastian the month afterwards, and then you've got Nicolo's films, just to make an example, that starts it was not decided before, but starts the Solothurn Filmtage and and is broadcasted all around Switzerland the same day in such a strong way all around the country. And I could name a lot of examples like that. I think a lot of this is just because of what Claudio was saying. I mean, it's a small family, if I can say it so, like in every family people fight, but it's a lot of people that, no, not so many, it's a good group of people that simply wants to make something. And it's true, we don't have we're small, we're really small. I mean, in comparison of other regions in the world, not only in Switzerland, if you think we're a region with about 400,000 people, more or less, in between Ticino and also the Swiss Italian part of Graubünden, we produce a lot, but I mean a lot. I mean, maybe just Quebec is maybe the only region in the world where they produce so much in such a small territory. I mean, well, they produce like 100 films a year, and we produce 3 or 4. It's something special. There's a lot of people trying to support each other. You could find also, maybe like in schools, you could find Niccolò being the director of a film where Claudia is part of the writing process, and then another director is helping him as a second unit, and all of these changes with a strong respect with the author of the moment, if I can say so, and maybe also a lot of the merit also goes to a few producers. You cited Tiziana. I mean, she was one of the pillars of what happened. Tiziana Sudani from Anca Film was really one of the pillars of making cinema in the Swiss Italian part of Switzerland something really professional and open to the world, with international productions, with participation to strong festivals and big festivals, and also Ventura Film with Andreas Pfeffli, that unfortunately is also not with us anymore. But I could cite others. I could cite Villerman, that starts as an author mostly, but slowly became a producer trying to pass on his experience to a lot of young directors, and really focused on giving this opportunity to people that make a first film, or not really only a first short film, but really a first feature. And we kind of get along as television in a way that is a little bit different from the rest of Switzerland, where you have much more people coming with projects. We give these young, crazy people, that are my age, by the way, a lot of trust. And a lot of films are first films from our region, but they are followed by a structure that is kind of really strong and professional, made by producers, made by us, humbly, and by a lot of people supporting around the Ticino Film Commission. There's really a structure that has been created in the last maybe 10 years that helps those films to get focused and get well and reach a good quality. And I'll stop because otherwise I'll go on for an hour. Sorry. That's all what I do.
Well, I am also an adopted Ticinese, and I'm also an adopted Ticinese, and I'm very happy and honored to have joined a company like Amca Films and also Cinedoche, with whom I collaborate since a few years. And I can really see and I really love this kind of community spirit that I feel in Ticino, or at least in this new generation of Ticino filmmakers and producers that I have somehow become part of. I really like the community and the openness and the will to really open up in many ways to the world, being it making films that are then shot in other parts of Switzerland. That was the case with Semret, for example, or also with Chronophobia partially. Also with more and more co-productions, of course, with the legacy of Tiziana Sudani, but also opening up to many other countries. This year alone, speaking about our own projects at the moment, we made between Cinedoche and Amca several co-productions, and we brought them actually to shoot in Ticino with the, of course, support of the Ticino Film Commission as well. And of course, obviously, the precious partnership with the RSI. And so, for example, this year we had an Italian film, an Italian co-production, a first feature, which is called Body Odyssey. They also came to shoot in Ticino. Another Polish film, they came and shot there as well. Then we brought, well, not to Ticino, but to Switzerland, the last film by Alice Rohrwacher, La Chimera. So they were shooting actually in Lucerne, but this is also a film co-produced by Amca Films, of course. And at the same time, yes, we do keep looking for new talents. We have one in the room here, Valentina Shasivari, who has made a short film produced by Cinedoche that will premiere very soon at a great festival, a great documentary festival. We are currently working on developing projects from the filmmakers in the room. I mean, Claudia and also Caterina, Francesco, and many others like Eric Bernasconi, of course, and others that are in the program as well here, like Alessandra Müller. I see there is Barbara Adesso in the program, and many more upcoming younger generation directors from Ticino. And so I guess yes, I really love this openness and this spirit of also sharing that is something I think also beyond Ticino, quite common in the new generation of younger Swiss film producers. Something that I really saw growing in the last years more and more, since I'm here in Switzerland, because actually I'm Italian originally. So this is a bit how I feel in general about this whole Ticino movement. I feel that there is a movement, there is a wave actually.
It's my turn. First of all, I would like to say in German, danke Jenny, wirklich für zum Organisieren diese ganze Monate mit Ticino Film. I think if someone asked me 10 years ago, would be one day in Xenix program with just Ticino films, let's say now it's impossible. It would be just with few films of Silvio Soldini, Willy Hermann, and something like that, but it's not. So the reality is another one. And to explain what Ticino films is for me, I go back now. It's 14 years ago. I was living in Zurich in 2008. I just did my diploma film, and Eric Bernasconi asked me to come back in Ticino to make the second assistant director on his first feature, Synesthesia. And then I decided to go back in Ticino, but just my idea was I just go back for 3 months, I do this movie, and then I come back to Zurich because there is no industry, there is no opportunity to make movies in Ticino. And then I went in Ticino and we started to shoot this movie, and it was quite crazy because Just for an example, one day I had to use my postcard and to go to the bankomat and put out my own money to pay the extras because we ran out of what money. I had to go to H&M and buy trousers for the actors because we didn't have enough trousers for a sequence. So it was quite crazy, this new wave, neue Welle. And now it's completely different. We're really think we are professional doing movies, but the spirit is still there. So this spirit of what you said also, Claudia, this spirit of collaboration, this spirit is also a bit crazy and also collaborative and also conflictual spirits. It's still there. When people ask me why Ticino, I say it's a big border, but the border of Ticino begins in Chiasso and ends in Airolo. And border are also lands of conflicts, lands of stories that something happens. And we are a big border where the south of Europe meets the north of Europe. We are a border with a lot of conflicts, with a lot of stories, with a lot of frustration also. And in a way, I think people came in Ticino, or people grew up in Ticino, had the necessity to tell these stories, to express themselves. Not only by the stories we tell, but also in a way to make movies, to reach other people. And these conflicts, it's something that I love. It's sometimes frustrating because sometimes we don't have enough money, sometimes things doesn't work very well. But at the end, through this conflict, it's something is growing up. And another things that I love in Ticino that came out in these years, that's that the people in Ticino starts to understand that we also can go out by ourselves from these stereotypes of Ticino, what Ticino is. So outside the Sonnenstube, Ticino was always the place where you can shoot a nice sequence with some polenta or I don't know what. And I was quite pissed off for the sequences of these movies because the Ticino was living. It's completely different. It was Ticino with some underground music, some conflicts, had all that kind of things that you have in a city or in wherever in the world. And we start to understand that we can also tell these stories. We don't have to be victim of the stereotype that we have. We can also play with the stereotype if you want. And that's, I think, they are the roots of what we are now. It's a beginning. I think what's happening now in Zurich with this program that you brought, it's a start of being encouraged to continue this work and to go further also in collaboration to building bridges outside Ticino, from Ticino to outside.
Thank you to, thank you to all the four of you who already said so many things, but also in your own words, and mentioned so many of the elements that which I would have asked one after another. But it was so nice to listen to the each one of you, the way you put it in your own words. So I think what I will go on is more to pick out some of the elements that you mentioned and maybe go a little bit deeper, just to understand a little bit better, because it seems to me now everything that you said seems that it's a combination of different elements, of different maybe developments that at this moment makes it very rich in Ticino. But I guess there's different reasons and different elements. And and so maybe one that I just want to pick up, maybe because we are in Zurich and I wanted to end with it, but now I think it's nice to not end with it because I can also freestyle with you, is also this element of people making films, as you said, being also proud of being Ticinese, and saying we can also make films, we can make urban films. I think this was something with Atlas that I liked a lot, where we could really see Lugano by night. But at the same time that you four are examples for this, also that you are very open to other regions, to other people, also internationally. A lot of you have lived in other countries, have maybe also made schools in other countries. So this, maybe we can talk a little bit more about this element of in and out of Ticino, for yourself, maybe in your life, and also of this connection, especially also maybe because we're in Zurich, there has been strong collaborations with Zurich, also with companies of Zurich like 8 Horses or others, or there are also people here who live here but always work a lot on Ticinese films. So yes, tell me more about this in and out of Ticino, and also this relation to people here or in other regions. We can also mix the order now if you want, but can also start again.
You're collaborating a lot in Zurich. No?
You live in Zurich, right?
I live in Zurich.
Yes. So that's an important point.
Yes, that's an important point. No, I mean, definitely there are collaborations, but like, yeah, let's say my background, you know, I'm Italian, and I was working for a very long time in like on another side of the industry. Was working for an organization called Torino Film Lab in Italy, which was a very international like organization supporting like up and coming filmmakers who were developing their feature films through like training and funding, and there was a big like co-production market and so on. And so I come a bit from this world of like European co-productions and international co-productions, and this is what I love in general. Like, so for me, like the more projects we can have that cross borders and that we can make with also international partners, the better. This is something that I really love and always look for. And talking about these like bridges with even with the other side of the world, I can say that we have actually 2 minority co-productions that we made with Sineddoche that are premiering now at the Toronto International Film Festival. So these are both, it's just a coincidence, but both like Canadian films that were minority co-produced with Switzerland, and they both obviously like ended up being really, really great films. It obviously worked out beautifully, and they're premiering in Toronto, and then one of them actually will also be here in Zurich at the Zurich Film Festival. So yeah, this is what I love, and all these other co-productions that I mentioned before. So like this is for me also in and out like of Ticino and even of Switzerland. So it goes beyond. But I think this is possible, of course, thanks to this energy, like because it's also a lot of co-productions like in a few years, thanks to the support of the RSAE and the trust, and obviously, and yes, thanks to this, I feel like this new energy and new generation also of producers, and of course Michela Pini that I work with is one of the big like forces of this new generation of Ticinese.
To add, I think there is also 2 elements. Also, one is the language. So we are a minority, and we have a problem. But we if we speak just Italian, we can speak only in Ticino, also in Italy. But in Italy, it's complicated. It's a country with a lot of production. So if we have to speak other languages, and so we are used also to speak other languages. We are quite used to switch the languages, and so, and it helps us to also to have a shared crew, like Claudia said. We have a crew usually in our set. It's quite crazy. You don't really know what languages you are using, because you are speaking with the assistant director Italian, and then you switch off with the camera department, and it's German or French or I don't know what. Sometimes it's quite crazy also, because our Italian sometimes it's also different from Italian of Italy. So the actors have to learn also our languages, and the actors of Italy they are coming to our sets, and what is this line? I don't understand the line, even if it's in Italian, because it's our, not dialect, it's our Italian. And this has helped us to cross the borders. Of course, it has helped us to bring new people on the set. And also, like I said, it's another, I think, in a way, our way of life inspired some people on the crew. So what I saw it was at the beginning, 2008, 2010, 11. Some people came in Ticino to help some film movies, some camera department, production department, and they fall in love by making film in Ticino. It was complicated. It was with less money, but with less money you have more responsibility. So you don't make just your small part, but you have more responsibility. You can develop yourself. You can make new experience. At the same time, we are in a way more horizontal. So you finish your day of shooting and you share dinner together. You go to the grotto, eating something together, and so on. More and more, a lot of people, a lot of technicians or collaborators want to come back in Ticino to shoot movies. I see some of them here in the cinema, and I know that they fall in love. And this was like advertising for us. So more and more, it was more people interested in our cinema. It's still a small cinema. It's still a conflictual cinema. It's still a frustrating cinema. Because still you don't have money, still you have to fight with a lot of things, and we have strange politicians, we have a lot of things that doesn't work, but still you enjoy the experience. And that was, for me, one of the points that helped us to grow up. I don't know if the other are agreeing or not.
Yeah, I never really thought about it, but it just came to me right now. A lot of times people come to me and they ask, why do we support co-productions, international co-productions? So minority co-productions with Italy, or with Canada, or with Poland, or with... And I think I now understood, because no, I'm kidding. I inherited this strategy or this policy from more than 10 years ago, I should say. And that's, I think, because in fact, we could say that maybe our cinema, like 10 years ago or 15 years ago, was a cinema that had to be created, our industry, not our cinema. And how do you do it if not as considering yourself as a country that starts creating an industry and has to do it with co-productions? So you could try to do it with the rest of Switzerland. It's not that easy, trust me. You can. It's great to work with people from the rest of Switzerland, but if you go to a production company in another region of Switzerland and ask, okay, would you like to co-produce with us? They say, why? I mean, we co-produce our films, you co-produce your films, why do you come to us? And so it became quite evident at a certain point that if we wanted to have also one thing that is extremely important, it's not only authors, which I respect you a lot, but are also actors and technicians and people that works all around these creative works. And how could we make them grow? How could we make sure that they would do the amount of experience that was needed to reach high quality? And it was not by making 2 or 3 films a year in the Italian part of Switzerland, but it was to create a way for them to work on bigger films, on more ambitious films, that were made in Italy, that were made in France, that were made in Canada, that were made in Poland. And so we have now a lot of people, let's say that, let me just do an example, is a name, there's many. Ariel Sarati is a DOP and is a Steadicam operator. And there was a co-production with Italy on a film, and he managed to work with Dario Argento at a certain point. And Dario Argento, I don't have to explain who it is, fell in love with him. And so he made the next 3 movies of Dario Argento, because he was such a strong and good Steadicam operator, and there was a link in between them. And now we have in Ticino this Steadicam operator that is one of the best in the world, because after Dario Argento he came to work with Sorrentino. And I mean, that's a way that, or a good intuition, a really good intuition that someone much better than me had more than 10 years ago, to start doing this back and forth and to co-produce films, which we still do as much as possible, to create a chance for the people from a region to go and work somewhere else and come back with the experience and share it with the others. Sharing is, I think, the key here. And that also, I think, is something that strongly helped our industry to kind of grow and stabilize and structure. Even if, once again, I think it will always be like this, we don't want even to have enough industry to make our own films close into Ticino or Svizzera Italiana. We really want to stay open. So, as I said, and as he said, when you go to a set in the Svizzera Italiana, you would always hear at least 4 languages in one day, at least. And you would ask yourself, how could they do it? And then you answer to yourself, well, I speak at least 4 languages every day in my job, because we don't do everything in Ticino with people from Ticino. And she speaks at least 3 or 4 languages a day, because she doesn't do everything with Italian-speaking people. And the same here. That's enriching. That's what makes us so curious about things, and what makes people curious about us, because they say, who are these crazy people that ask me to do these 3 jobs and be paid for 1, and on a film that I don't really understand, and then when I get to the set, I don't understand what most of the people on the set are saying. That makes it great films.
I also just understood something that's interesting when you said about the minority co-productions. For me, there was always a little bit this part of course, Switzerland has the money, and so that's what we can do. So there's a little bit of this also, this element of the role that whole Switzerland has. But it's so much more enriching this way, and the thing of making even I remember it was also you telling me that the reciprocity with Italy, for example, producing in Switzerland, doesn't always work as much as we would maybe love to, that there is still an exchange, especially for people who actually work in film. I didn't realize this.
If we can go on a little bit, because I love it. No, it's... Yeah, interrupt me, please interrupt me. No, it's actually, it's really great. And Italy, for example, this reciprocity thing is kind of intriguing, because we've been discussing a lot with the BAC, because they have a really strict rule about reciprocity, and they always ask us, or RSC, why are you not so strict? And I answer, because we cannot allow ourselves to be so strict. Our cinema would go slower, and it wouldn't reach the aims that we give to ourselves. We have to keep these doors open, and well, politics in Italy changed a lot, and at a certain point, for almost 5 years, they simply did no co-productions back. So we could have said, okay, let's stop. And right now, we would have no technicians, no authors that have cooperated with other people, and also for the producers, no contacts, no notoriety, no respect in the industry, and it would have been like a suicide for us. And that was at the time something that we decided really calmly that we wouldn't really care about this rule, and we would change it, bend it. And right now, people from Italy, because the law finally changed, and they start calling us, asking us, okay, which projects do you have right now? Because we would really like to co-produce the films you're making right now. So you will be getting, hopefully, a lot of films from the southern part of Switzerland in the next years.
Good. It's true that, I started doing cinema in Ticino, even though I'm not from there, but that's where the professionally I started. And the funny part is that I kind of thought, I knew we didn't have enough, as much money, and it was small groups, but as said Nicolo, it's very horizontal. So there's not that hierarchy that you might find in bigger places. I'm not talking like the French or the Italian hierarchy, but in Switzerland, there is still something that we don't know. And when I had to shoot this series in Romandie, there was a lot of that. I mean, we had half of the crew, I mean, a lot of the people of the crew that were still French and stuff like that. And the funny part is that obviously having done two movies in Ticino, you're totally included, no matter who you are. And at some point in Homodi, I was talking with some of my Ticino colleagues, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm not getting invited to the parties. I think the technicians, they just don't want, you know, like some of the people because of the hierarchy. And that to me was so strange, because in Ticino, there's no way yet that you don't get invited to the parties, because, you know, everyone does pretty much everything. So, yeah, I mean, it's impossible.
You have to do the cocktail at the party.
But
You
yeah,
have to
I
have the
mean,
director.
you actually bring stuff, you know, to the parties. So that was like a big shock for me. I was like, how would they not like include some people? I mean, and that was, but you know, a realization that probably in cinema, because all the people out of Ticino told me, yeah, but that's normal. You're the director. Directors, they never get invited to the parties. And I said, well, in Ticino we do. It is true.
You clean afterwards.
We clean, and yeah, we of course we do.
One question that I would like to deepen it just a little bit, because also because of people that you mentioned, like Tiziana Sudani and Andres Pefli, who both died not long ago and too young and were very important producers, is in that sense of this idea of a new generation, of a generation that is maybe a little bit different, and also a generation of even younger people than you, even if it's hardly imaginable that this exists. But yeah, this idea of a new generation.
I would like to mention one person more. The suddenly passed away more years ago as Giulia Fretta. Giulia Fretta was the producer of Heresy 10 years ago, no, maybe 8 years ago, and she passed away 7 years ago, maybe 6 years ago. And I remember even in 2008 I did my diploma film here in Zurich with the ZDK, and I remember the premiere of this short film was in Locarno, the Party di Domani, and I didn't have any connection with Ticino films, because I studied in Bologna, and then after that I came here in Zurich directly. I didn't have any experience in Ticino, even if I'm Ticinese. And it was incredible for me, because during the Locarno Film Festival I met all of these people you mentioned: Giulia Fretta, Tiziana Sudani, Andres Pefli, Elda Guidinetti. All these people, I met them, and they just asked me, yeah, you're Ticinese, nice, you did a nice short film, so let's speak about the future. The only one I didn't met is Willy Herman, and then he produced my first feature, but this is another story. But they was curious at that time. They was curious, they knew that they had some money also to invest, not a lot of money, really small amount of money, because also Giulia Fretta didn't have the money of SRF or RTS. But it was also a collaboration between Giulia, Heresy, and this producer, because they knew that had some money for making television movies. And they decided together, let's make television movies as fur feature, and let's try to make it as stronger and good as possible to bring these movies in festivals and theaters. They knew that the audience in Switzerland, even in television, in Ticino in television, it's so small that doesn't make any sense to try to make a blockbuster for Swiss television or Ticino. It doesn't make any sense, because if you are really making a blockbuster, you are reaching how many? 1,500, I don't know, 2,000.
50,000 is like an extremely good reach.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So they tried at that time to say, okay, let's try to make something to take some risk, because it doesn't cost anything, because if we take risk, maybe we can reach something. If we don't take risk, we lose anything. So they tried, and they asked to, at that time, it was Eric Bernasconi, Alberto Meroni. They tried to make some first feature, and it starts a new wave. and they tried really to push the authors to make their own movies. I remember also with Willy Herman, it was there asking me, what kind of movie do you want to do it? So Giulia Fretta also at that time, she was asking me, let's make your movie. I don't want to impose you my perspective, or television perspective, and so. And it was the key point, I think. And then Gabriele Gara, and after that also Alessandro, and also this producer, like Andres and Tiziana, Willy, and so they continued this work, and I think it was the key point, the start point of this new wave of Ticino films.
I would like to give the opportunity to you to ask questions or tell your Ticinese stories. There's someone in the back. Oder soll es Mic geben? Ich glaube, die funktionieren noch so halb.
Sorry, I just want to add what Alessandro and Nico are saying. You're mentioning Giulia, which I think is very important, but also at that time, I'm feeling like a dinosaur a bit. 20 years ago, there had been also Alberto Scholle. There had been people putting in the seats really in the 2000s, 99, 2000, and it's true. Even we from Zurich collaborate with the RSE in films which the SRF, or at that time there as SF, wasn't interested in. They were not curious enough. And I remember very well Tiziana trying with minority productions. I mean, some of you might remember Pane e Tulipani. This was really a chance to get off, to fly off. And during this time in Italy, the Torino, but also Alto Adige, around Ticino, there was a powerful Italy, and there was still the time where the RAI was very pushing into buying or selling films. So it was a bit a squeezed situation for Ticino people, but the seeds had been planted for the creativity, but the producers really fought, and they fight it strong to be there, and they got backed up by the RSE, that there had been collaboration to have new filmmakers, giving them chances, not only just one film, but continuity in doing small films for television. Nobody of you has maybe seen, but in the RSE, they had been continually working, making a small documentary, if it's for you, if it's somebody else, Eric, etc. And that really helped on one side the producers, bounding and or bonding with the television, but at the same time their own companies. And the seeds really have been giving or growing up. And I remember very well, Nicola, when 10 years ago you arrived in Lugano and you invited us from Bern, of saying, we are the new generation. And we were sitting like that, okay. And I remember Andres, Tiziana, and Willy sitting there like, not a bit like the grey hats. And then the new generation is saying, and it was a very nice symbol, you have been sitting in one house. And we were showing that's our studio, or this is how we open-minded up. And that spirit really have been continued, or still exists. But I think this is a strong partner, and the partnership is with the television. Because Giulia came from radio. She was not a television person at all. But it's a different character, it's a different, I just can call it spirit, which really is border working, not borderliner, it's border working. And there was a strong time that a lot of Swiss Germans came to see you, but now it's like the way back, I would say. And the only bad is it was always difficult to put films into the cinema. The cinemas in Lugano are really a catastrophe. I'm speaking about 10 years, 20 years ago, and we are looking forward that now in Locarno and Lugano that it comes back, that you get the audience back to the cinema. This has been a lack of, I don't know, there's no mistake or fault, But that was really the only thing in Ticino never really worked on to get people into the cinemas. We tried with a lot of Swiss films to do it, to go down, but even with Amka film, we had a lot of tries and try and errors. It is difficult to get the public into the real cinema. That's the only but behind. But maybe now it's changed again. Who knows?
Yeah, no, not really. But first of all, thank you, because my boss is in the venue, so thank you for. I mean, yeah, I think we're following the right strategy. Yes, thank you for citing Julia. I think that really she was the one that kind of understood what was happening and had a vision, and what who came after her, Gabriella, that decided, myself, and we are just simply grateful and feel that this is the way of helping the cinema from our region. You cited something important and extremely difficult, in fact, in Ticino, which is the audience in the venues, or the venues available. And the tradition also. I cannot say that it's a problem, but it's an issue, or it's a matter, it's a subject. We have, as Italian-speaking people or audience, an extreme habit of doubling. So once you bring a film that, or at least up until 10 years ago, 5 years ago, when you bring a film into a venue in Switzerland and edit in the original language with subtitles, you would have a full venue for the avant-premiere and then no one else. This is getting better. That doesn't mean that there is a lot more people in the venues. This is not exactly what is happening, unfortunately. But at least this has been a little bit moved. I'm surprised to say that it's maybe thanks to the platforms and not thanks to our strategy or the work of the BAC about it. That's getting a lot better, but it's true that it's kind of difficult to have films in their language running for more than 3-4 days in Ticino, when they are only in French or in German or in Swiss German. And also the opposite is not so easy. We will be extremely surprised because all the films that will be presented here will be fully packed. But also for a film that has been made in Ticino, it's sometimes much easier to be shown in festivals all around the world than to be shown in the forum, because I'm not saying Xenis, they always show our films, but for more than one night. And that's something that we still have to work about, and well, we are. Slowly. And we will continue trying to find these bridges in between languages, because it's not a geographical problem, it's really in between languages and somehow also culture. But culturally, all audiences are interested about the other regions. But language speaking, that is still something that we have to fight for. STV, but I'm not here, I mean, they pay me to say these things. STV, we're trying to do this a little bit more with Play Suisse, for example. But in venues, we still have to work a lot, I think, to make.
But does Ticinese television show the films from Ticino? This is normal to show them.
Yes, absolutely, yes. Absolutely. But for example, we also show films from the Swiss German part, German part of Switzerland or Romandie. But if it's an author film, we would broadcast it late night in the original language, or we will dub it, which is something that otherwise we don't have enough public. If so we dub at least 6, 7, 8 films a year, because if you want them to be seen, to be really seen by our audience, you have to do Italian dubbing. It's just crude reality.
Are there any other questions or comments or memories or stories from the audience? I'm fighting here, but I guess my voice is loud enough. Yeah.
Maybe this Italy that comes. This Italy that comes back in every second sentence. For me, Italy is a big country, that's okay, but it's also a country with a lot of legends. And I don't understand why there is not, when you say Italy, for me it's Milano, the nearest place. So when I go to Milano, I meet filmmakers, and they are poor generally. They're in the same situation as Ticino filmmakers. So I don't understand, or in Torino, or wherever you want. I don't understand why this connection is not more intense between poor filmmakers in Milano and poor filmmakers.
I think mainly Italy has a huge background and history of cinema that has nothing to do with Switzerland or Ticino or France. I mean, they're very apart from that. And even if they suffer probably from the same things, lacking money and all this, I think it's very different. There is an industry. There's a huge industry. We actually, when we do films in Ticino, we have a lot of Italian actors because we can't find enough actors in Ticino, and we do casting in Rome where there is an industry. So I don't think it's compatible. I mean, I don't think they would accept us in a way being part of any Italian cinema or industry. It's just not possible because we don't have the same culture of cinema that they do. We don't come from the same place. Switzerland is a mixed place with 4 different languages, with 4 different cultures, and we get from all these languages and cultures in Ticino. They have Italy. So it's a very far away country in that sense. Co-productions are okay because somehow we can share actors and technicians and things like this, but I mean at the bottom it's very far away. Totally, it's totally.
Yeah, but I received a lot of scripts from Italy from people who needs money, and they are ready to work with somebody abroad as far if he can give money or other things that helps to bring the project in around.
I think we are fighting also with the stereotypes and the cliche that in Switzerland we are rich and we have money for everybody. If I remember, if I think about 10 years ago, project comes from Italy was always project that people, and still to today I receive I think once a month a project from Italy from people. They try just to say, in Switzerland they have money. I just send an email with a script and they will give me money to do the movie. And this is not reality. We are poor. We have less money than Italy. We are not rich than Italy. Italy is much more rich in filmmaking than us. So our job is to also to make these bridges and to go away from these stereotypes and to let them know that there is an Swiss-Italian cinema, that we can also share something, and this co-production, as Alessandro and Olga mentioned, are a way to go away from these stereotypes and to build something different that is not just a discussion about money. I think it's a process that takes a lot of time. Every time that we shot a movie with an Italian actress or an Italian actor, or we have someone of the crew coming in Switzerland, an assistant director, or I don't know, a co-producer or a technician, they will bring in Italy their own experience. They will share their own experience, and they say, I did an experience in Switzerland. They are quite crazy because they are speaking also French and German on the set, but it was great or it wasn't great. And so that's a kind of process that takes a lot of time to break up these stereotypes and this kind of relationship. And sometimes I have the feeling it's much more easy with Rome than with Milano. Milano is very commercial. Milano is more focused on commercial videos. They struggle also because they would like also to be like Roma, but they are in Milano, so more TV exactly. But it's a long process. I'm astonished now because sometimes now we are receiving some invitation to show our movies in Italy, and that's something really new. Now, 2 weeks ago, I received an email from an association that want to make a small festival with some small festival like this one in Xenix, showing Swiss Italian movies in Italy. So it was crazy because it's the first time in my life that someone is really interested in our movies, and they know there still exists someone speaking Italian outside Italy. In the south of so it was. I think everybody of us experienced that. We go to Rome and people saying to you, "Oh, you speak very well Italian." I'm really astonished. That's our reality. It's not. It's true. It's like this. So it's a long process. It's hundreds of years that we have to break and to change.
And
I would just add that even if in our Ticino movies we, for example, have like a protagonist that might be an actor or an actress that is Italian and that it's maybe famous even in Italy, Italians, they're not gonna go to see our film. It has a very hard time getting in Italy. They're just not, because they have enough of their own films. So.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, as a producer, I get like, we used to get at some point, it was crazy, like 10 like emails a week like this from Italy alone, and then we put something like we don't accept unsolicited scripts like on the website, and since then it's a bit less, but it's always like at least a couple of emails like this every week or something. But of course, I mean, that doesn't mean that these are the poor Italian filmmakers that we should support. We should also be clearly, in any case, selective. And yes, there is this myth of the rich Switzerland, and we can just turn to them, you know, if we are not like successful enough in our competitive, extremely competitive industry in Italy, because that's how it is. It is a big industry, but it's also extremely competitive. And maybe I have to say they do have a bit of a harder life than emerging Swiss filmmakers in general. So, but yeah, they tried, but this is not, I would say, the kind of collaborations that we're looking for. It's more like this real shared artistic vision for co-productions, and in that sense, we collaborate a lot with Italy, but like on like the projects, Italian projects we believe in, for the reasons that Alessandro mentioned, obviously, of like getting the Swiss and the Ticino professionals to have this experience, and also like having them shooting not only in Ticino but obviously in all these other countries. I mean, obviously we did send like people to shoot in Canada, to shoot like everywhere, and so it's the same with Italy. But yeah, I think the connection and the link is very strong. It's true that it's maybe somehow not completely like mutual. It's a bit more like one way than the other, but we also do try. We are trying more and more now to co-produce with Italy also for like Swiss Ticino films. We're doing actually a funding application at the Italian Ministry of Culture right now for a project. So, you know, like we are trying to make it also like the other way more and more, hopefully in the future.
Sorry, just her film and my last movie, they are both majority co-production, Switzerland co-production with Italy, but it's quite hard. It works after 10 years, it works to do a majority co-production with Italy, but it's not so easy, and still you have to make a great job with all the actors and all the crew, and also to find a distribution, it's really hard. Like Susa said, we have two main problems in my opinion now. One is the distribution of the movies. It's really hard. We are going quite well in festival. I think in festival we can say we are really happy because our movies are really turning a lot in festivals, cine clubs, and so. But still, hard to get this movie shown in theaters. And the other part of really problematic part for me is also the development of projects, the writing process. We don't have enough money to write, and the author and also production company in Ticino is struggling because there is no. We write in another language. We don't have access to a lot of funding for writing process. It's still hard to get money also in other parts of Switzerland because we are writing in Italian. We have to translate every time all the dossier. There is always translation. It's not like a nice emotional translation because it's translation. We don't have money to translate the scripts. Lots of foundation that sometimes founds script writing. They are based in Swiss German part of Switzerland, so they didn't get also the know-how to read the script. So we are struggling with developing of movies. And that means that we need a lot of time to get the film done, because an author, when he's done with a movie, it takes really a long time to develop the next one and have to do 3 or 4 different jobs to survive until the next movie. So this is, for me, development and distribution are the 2 main problems that we have at the moment.
Directors in this southern part of Switzerland have to accept to become like the artistic directors of festivals to be able to develop the next movie.
Exactly.
Actually, yes, this is a good occasion to talk about your different casquettes that you wear. I don't know if you say this in Italian as well, but first maybe talking about the Ticino Film Commission. This has also been something that has been, I was talking to Lisa, also of the Film Commissioners here before that, how it has helped consolidating even the image that we can have outside of the country, but also that it helps more and more also to finance projects or writing. Maybe before, I'm curious to know what you will do in Solothurn, but maybe it's not even you who should answer, but someone else. But what is the role of the Ticino Film Commission, who is still quite young, and yes, what does it mean for the Ticino films?
I think I'm the right person to answer.
Can you leave the room for me? The Ticino Commission was created to support, not really to support the industry of Ticino. It was really created as a, let's say, an economical measure to make people come to Ticino to shoot movies.
Yes.
And it was created at the same time, no polemics, but without a fund, which usually is something that comes with a film commission, as is the example of many regions in Germany or in Italy. And so they had to kind of invent themselves and find a way to be useful to the industry and to the country, to the economics of Ticino, because that was their responsibility. And they started with like supporting in location scouting, and then they tried supporting with permits, and then they tried supporting with suggestions and feedbacks, and then it was organization, and then it's becoming a little bit of funding on development, and also they found a way to make a little bit of funding for shooting, and they discussed, town by town, and they're discussing town by town to see if they have some funding a little bit to, if people want to make a scene in their town, etc. And they managed to do in the last, I would say, 4 years, so not only since you arrived, but even before, to become something that is kind of necessary and extremely rich in their offer, and quite surprising, if I can be honest. We are really lucky. We live in a region of Switzerland, and the region of the world, in Europe, I would say that is incredible. Geographically speaking, landscape speaking. You could find palm trees, and behind the palm tree you have the Alps with the snow, and you have a lake, and then you make the 3 minutes and you're on a mountain, and then you have, it's a great place to shoot, which is extremely expensive. So to convince people to come to Ticino and shoot, even if it's so expensive, is something that I was crossing my finger, but was not sure that was really possible. And then I saw how many productions would come to us just thanks to them, because Lisa is sitting there, and I was astonished. And so we said, cool, that can be useful. And we started as RSC, so as television, we started to say, okay, let's find ways to cooperate and see if we can also open other ways of supporting the industry in Ticino and with Ticino. So the idea of supporting subtitling for films from Ticino to go outside of our region, but also for films from the rest of Switzerland to come to Ticino, helping them making subtitles in Italian. And all these kind of little small initiatives that taken by themselves and cannot seem extremely useful actually are creating something that I hope, it's really hope, could maybe really change things. And slowly, but at a slow but steady pace. So I'm pretty positive if you didn't understand about the Ticino Commission.
As a filmmaker, is there also a link or not?
Well, as a filmmaker, it's really a tool for us because, well, I mean, the Ticino Film Commission is there to support, you know, to help us find places, and they specialize in actually knowing the territory. So even if I live in Lugano, it doesn't mean that I know all Ticino. So it's complementary to a very important section of filmmaking, and well, it's a small place, so we all know each other. So it's not far away. Actually, this is like having our cousins, you know. They're kind of part of the film, but not really, because they're our cousins, not brothers or sisters. So it feels like it should be growing with us. And even for us, we know that the more the Ticino Film Commission takes importance, you know, and space in Switzerland, the better it's going to be for us. Even though at the beginning it was just a tool to attract people, you know, exposition for us is very important. If Francesco Rizzi makes great on his film, I'm going to be winning too, because, you know, he's going to be out there and people are gonna be talking about Ticino. Same with the Ticino Film Commission, you know, if they attract people to come see it, you know, there's gonna be talking and thinking about this place in Switzerland that no one knows. When I go outside of Switzerland, even worse, outside of Europe, and I try to explain where I live, people are like, so Italy? I'm like, no, Switzerland. Yeah, but Italian? Yeah, but still, it's on the other part of the Alps. Oh, there is another part of the Alps? Como? Not exactly. So really, it feels, you know, a lot more important than just being a film commission. It's actually saving the culture and the territory and bringing an exposition that it's actually crucial for us.
Thank you. Is Film Commission is standing here because they're sponsoring the apero and also supporting the program, but it's not that now we're making like a film Ticino 5 minutes Film Commission commercial. It seems to really, even I noticed when I was preparing the program that they would approach and say they would support, but they would not take any influence in the program. But even I could tell that you are around, so I guess you do a very good work. Now I would like to know by you. I mean, I think this is interesting. You've started in August, I think, your new position of Artistic Director of Solothurner Filmtage, which of course is the festival for Swiss film in general. Yes, what does it mean, what do you want to bring specifically Ticinese? Of course, you are the director of us all, I know. But
first of all, I'm also surprised to be there. So, yeah, really surprised, and it's a new adventure for me. But I think it's also a new adventure for our small culture, because it's another way to grow up and to go out from our small territory. And I think when they called me and we did the first interview, and we spoke about what does it mean to have a Ticinese leading an artistic part of the Solothurner Filmtage, I was thinking, yes, I feel like I don't know, like a glue. I can put together some part of Switzerland, some different parts of culture, and so from my point of view, a minority point of view, with a perspective on all over in Switzerland, and with also the experience I shared because I worked with people from everywhere in Switzerland. On my set, I had experience with Swiss German people, Reto-Romanish people from people of Romandy, and I saw movies of them and I worked on the set of them. So I had the opportunity as minority to have a look of all this majority part of Switzerland. And I think as a filmmaker, why they ask me or why I'm there now as filmmaker, I'm there because Swiss cinema needs to be strong also in this platform of discussion, to really discuss what we are doing, where we are, what we would like to have in our future, because we are in a point of our film history, that there is a lot of question point for the future. We have a streaming platform that are coming, we have new law, we have a strong relationship with abroad, with co-production. They are much more stronger than before. We have the hopefully not really so strong, but we have the new no bilags coming. We have a lots of new thing coming, and we can see of this new thing coming as opportunity to discuss and to be better and to be stronger and to be more close also to the audience, more close to the institution founding our movies, since the cultural institution. So I see myself as a person can build and try to help these bridges to be done between regions, between institution, artists, production companies and audience. And yeah, it's funny, it's something that I have to discover. I don't know if I'm on à l'auteur to do this job, but it's really interesting for me to be outside Ticino with my eyes as Ticinese, and let's see.
Well, all the best. You must be in the middle of organizing right now.
Thank you very much.
Maybe before we have a glass together, a last opportunity for questions. Yes?
Yeah, hello. A question to Nicola Castelli, but don't you think that it could be a problem continuing being president of Ticino Film Commission when you are in Solothurn?
I know that this question will come a lot of times. I'm in the Ticino Film Commission. It's in a period we have to. We just ended the first 8 years as startup as Ticino Film Commission, and we are financing and new financing Ticino Film Commission for the next 8 years or 4 years. And now we are in the middle of the process of convincing the Cantone Ticino to finance and to consolidate Ticino Film Commission. It was not the right moment to go away, and I think we started a lot of projects, like Alessandro mentioned. We start with new project like a development project with the cities, the communities, and so I think it's important to be there to finish something that we started as Ticino Film Commission, and I don't see conflict of interest, because since I'm in director of Ticino Film Commission, I'm not making movies, I'm not asking money to any institution in Ticino and X and so I don't have any advantage already yet with my role of the Ticino Film Commission. And I have also Ticino Film Commission is not a cultural institution that we choose the movies that I like, and so we are helping all the movies are done in Ticino. We are helping everybody in the same way, so it's not that if I like a movie as Ticino Film Commission, I will bring it in Solothurn or the opposite. So I feel until I have the freedom to choose what I love in Solothurn, and to also to say no some Ticino movies in Solothurn, I'm quite okay. I have to be okay with myself, and then if I'm okay with myself, I think the people will not have any argue with me. I think. Thank you.
Last chance. Well, thank you very, very much. Also, especially thank you for the generous way of telling us and us giving really a multifaceted image of what you're experiencing right now. And I'm really looking forward to seeing more films, of course, coming also of the younger generation, which is making a lot of short movies at the moment. I wanted to mention this before, and who will be also presented again, some of the short films at Winterthur Kurzfilmtage in November. That was one of the reasons why here in the program we have less short films. So yes, thank you very much, and all the best. Thank you, and please go and see the films in the program for the whole month. And today in a week there's also a premiere of Zauri with Maria Alessandrini, who is also a special guest coming again, and so please join us next week and any other screening. Thank you. All the best. Thank you.
Thanks so much also from our side to our guests on the panel for coming to Zurich, giving us this insight. Thanks to Jenny for your great work. Thanks to Ticino Film Commission, Ticino Wine for offering the Apero. Danke dem Publikum fürs Kommen. Ich hoffe, wir treffen uns alle draußen beim Apero. Es soll sogar was zu essen geben, das für alle gratis ist. So könnt ihr dann auch gestärkt in den nächsten Film gehen. Genau, Semret läuft anschließend um 20:45 Uhr. Ja. Und der nächste Filmtalk findet am 13. Oktober statt. Wir werden Ivana Kvesic einladen. Sie ist die neue Direktorin vom Fantosch Festival. Und wir haben jetzt vom Verein her auch eine neue Webseite, die auf die Filmtalks laufend aktualisiert. Man kann sich dort auch für einen Newsletter eintragen. Nochmals einen Applaus für unsere Gäste.
Danke, Jenny. Also die letzte Zeit, so viel ständig, aber wow.